For a moment, I would like to discuss something that affects many people's lives every day, including my own. Something that very often goes unnoticed by others or is simply misunderstood by those who have never really felt its grip. The subject to which I'm referring is depression, something that many people are aware of, but probably don't give much of a second thought because it just doesn't affect them or they don't know that it does. Depression oftentimes causes people to lose the feelings they once held and become sort of wooden or stoic in an emotional stupor. For many people with depression, it can start early at a time when you are most vulnerable, while your personality is still being shaped and your view of the world is still taking form. Of course, this often alarms parents when their child seems to suddenly change. However, far too often, this is regarded as part of life, that all children change when they reach a certain age. Depression often causes persisting sad, empty, or anxious moods, along with the feeling of worthlessness or guilt. Obviously, these aren't the only effects, but they are some of the ones I would like to focus on as we begin our discussion on When Marnie Was There, a film by Studio Ghibli. Released in Japan on July 19th, 2014, When Marnie Was There became the 20th feature film released by Studio Ghibli. Directed by Hiromasa Yonebayashi and based on a children's book written by Joan G. Robinson that was published in 1967, When Marnie Was There is possibly the last movie we will ever see from the acclaimed studio. Much of the movie's story is character-driven, with a heavy focus on our main protagonist, Anna, whose adoptive mother has noticed that she seems rather different recently. Contrasting to her previously happy and adventurous demeanor, Anna seems to be wooden with no real self-expression. This, coupled with her asthma issues, force her mother to get a doctor's recommendation, who decides it would be best for her to go to live with her aunt and uncle for the summer, to get some fresh air and hopefully reinvigorate her passion for life. After commuting by train in a short Ghibli trademarked bumpy car ride, Anna finds herself in the beautiful scenery of a small seaside village. After only a short while there, Anna finds herself compelled to explore an old, seemingly abandoned mansion by the seaside. After a while of looking around, Anna takes a short rest, only to wake up hours later with the tide risen so high she couldn't walk back the way she came along the shoreline. Luckily for her, however, a quiet fisherman by the name of Toichi gives her a ride back on his rowboat. As he is rowing her back, however, Anna glances back at the old mansion, only to find it well lit and in pristine condition, with a young blonde woman having her hair brushed in the window, a scene which promptly fades after only a moment. After another day of sketching and a mishap at a festival, Anna once again finds herself drawn to the mansion, looking at it longingly from across the bay until she decides to steal a small boat and sail across. Once across, she meets a young girl by the name of Marnie, who seems to be everything Anna wishes she was: pretty, smart, and seemingly in control. I could go on, but I'd rather not, as delving beyond this point of their meeting is something I'd rather you see for yourself. As stated before, the core of the film's focus is centered around Anna, a young artist who sees herself as different from other people. Often finding herself alone, Anna seems to believe that she is unwanted by society and even by her family, a feeling only reinforced by her discovery of a check that her mother receives from the government for taking a foster child. Due to social anxieties brought on by this self-deprecation, Anna also finds herself lashing out at those who take a mild interest into talking to her, or even just pry a little too much. That is until she meets Marnie. Marnie is a young girl who Anna becomes friends with after meeting her in the mansion. Self-confident, reliable, and pretty, Marnie is everything Anna feels that she herself is not. However, Marnie doesn't see this and is instead enamored by the idea of being a normal person like Anna. Marnie oftentimes sneaks out from the watchful gaze of her nanny to take midnight rowboat rides, and seems to be very adventurous in spirit. Aside from the two main girls, however, the only other notable characters do not appear until later in the story, and as such I would rather not talk about them, but I assure you they fit in quite nicely. While normally I'm not one to talk about the sound quality of an anime, as I'm not privy to the deeper aspects of music, I can say that the OST composed by Takatsugu Muramatsu is absolutely gorgeous, and I've been listening to it on repeat as I've researched and wrote this script. Aside from that, the voice work in both the Japanese and English audio are very well done, giving this movie the necessary amount of heart that it deserves. Overall, I believe When Marnie Was There is a beautifully written and realized story, complemented by beautiful backgrounds and fluid animation. The ideas presented are done well enough so that even once you've seen the movie, you may want to rewatch it so that you may read more into the subtle nods planted throughout. Every frame of this movie could be used as a desktop background with so much heart and detail laced throughout its entirety. To be honest, this movie highlights everything the world will be missing out on if Ghibli decides to never make a film again, while simultaneously existing as a beautiful farewell should they choose to stop forever. Overall, I give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. It is a masterpiece with very few flaws that I believe anyone interested in anime or even animation in general should look into. Well, whether or not I've convinced you, I hope to see you next time.